So first we're going to tear apart the attachments for washing, and most of them can just be ran through the dishwasher. I personally don't run these brushes through them. I take them off and wash those by hand. And then this is actually a very nice crevice tool. Very nice, barely used. That's surprising. Usually the crevice tools are pretty worn. And then this, I just pop this plastic piece off. Then these brushes can come out. The suction thing. And then the duster, you can get the brushes out on it too. Then the suds gun. The smaller handle. The pig's nose. Inflator, other thing for the suds gun, and a random carpet cleaner attachment. Don't know what that's to. And a belt. Actually, quite a few belts. Very nice. Now, the hose can also just be washed. This, you can unscrew these ends if you want to. I don't. And then, most likely, this filter's garbage because they usually dry rot, but actually, it doesn't look too bad. And then this actually doesn't look that used. Maybe once, probably when they did the demonstration. Has definitely seen use though, because it's quite a bit of hair wrapped up in there. Don't want to break it. I don't think there's any certain way to take these out. Oh, there. Okay. That is a very stretched out belt, especially compared to a new one. That's going into the garbage. And I think that's about all we can tear off of this. And I guess you could wash this. And there's the tube for the suds gun. I guess we can start with the vacuum and make sure it's unplugged. Bag first. So with these, actually a new bag. Then you can take the bag topper off by squishing this piece through there. Somehow it's not wanting to go through. Oh, there you go. A little bit stiff. Washed. Then with these bags, I just take a flathead screwdriver, and how everyone else I've seen done it. Wedge it underneath here. Don't want to catch that rubber though. Then I think just try not to break them. Then you can get the rest of your bag off. This can be washed. That can be washed. This can go into the washing machine. Now, the nozzle. Ooh, okay. Sometimes these little clips on the back can get pretty hard to undo, but this one doesn't look too bad. Now, make sure the belt's off. That can come off now. And that brush roll is very worn. Probably replace it. You can pop the trim off. Not too bad. Seen worse. That can go in the dishwasher. Now, the handle. Just press the button at the back. Release the cord. And then another belt. Where did my screw didn't go? This piece of plastic on the back is just held on by this hand screw. No coins. This, you can just unscrew the handle by taking this screw out, popping the handle off, and there's your handle. Now, for the vacuum, we're going to start by taking the cord off. So there's a small screw here. I think it's a T15 is what the screw takes. There's not many of these smaller ones on here. Most of them are the same size. And this, usually there is a screw on the back of right here. Mine is missing that. So you can take a flathead, lift this up. Well, you take a flathead, push it under there. That can be washed. Now, a T20 for this smaller screw to take off the cord. There's two more screws right back here. I think they started on the G5 is when they started going to the different kind of screws from Phillips. Now, there's 2 screws here and here that you're going to want to take out. Now, your whole back housing can come off. Trim pieces can go, washed. Now, I would start taking the headlight hood off, which I think calls for T15. The 2 screws here and here. But first, you're gonna get your headlight lens out. Kind of push up with a flat head. And it should just pop out like that. I like to take my bulbs out just so I don't break them. And then your 2 screws are down in these little spots, about down right there and right there. You're going to take those out, which will free up the plastic on the headlight hood. Which is a lot smarter than the G3 and G4 because I've stripped the screws in those very easily. And the plastic tabs break on them easily. And then a T20 again. There's 2 screws about here and here to take off the rest of the headlight hood. So you're going to take those out. Now the whole headlight hood will be loose. Then you're going to want your T15 to take these 3 screws here, here, and here out. You can take the plastic off without taking those out, but I've broken it by doing that, so I would not recommend it. You can also grease the headlight hood when you put it back together. You can grease it. I've never had to grease mine, personally. And then this all comes out. And with these, there's 2 little clips right here, which I think I can just do with my hand. Oh, well actually this just comes off. And you can take the socket out by just pushing it, kind of wiggling it out of here. And then it'll come out. This can be washed. And now you're going to want to go back to the T20 and take these 5 screws out. Here, 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 and there's one more right here to release the fan casing. And you can, when I first started taking these apart, I've put the screws in different bowls, but I've taken, I think, about 15 of these apart now, so I somewhat remember where the screws go. And if you haven't ever taken this off, it's going to be a little bit hard, so, because of this silicone. And up here, there's like a kind of a spot right here. And I can put your screwdriver in, and then kind of hit it with the back of something. Well, there actually might be an easier way to pry it off of there. Oh, right here. Right up here. Pry it off. And your whole front fan case will be removed. Now, if you want to, we can take, there's 2 screws here and here, which will take your height adjustment off so you can grease it and wash it. This can also fix it if it's skipping, which mine wasn't, but I've had a couple that have skipped in the past. And this is just going to pop off like that. That can be washed. This can also be washed, and usually it's pretty gross in there, which is the cause for skipping. This piece can also be taken out and washed. This, you're going to take, there's 2 screws here and here, which I think are T25s. Yes, they are T25s. I think they're the only T25s on this machine. It can be quite stuck sometimes, especially if there is rust, which this machine doesn't have too much of, thankfully. And then your whole handle yoke can come out. I wash these. I don't know if you're supposed to, but I do. And then there's, you're gonna want a 3 1/8 wrench, and you're gonna put that right here to take your fan off. And you're gonna, there's a hole here that you can put a screwdriver or a small something through and turn it counterclockwise, and then your pulley will come off pretty easily. That, and my fan does not look too bad at all, so that will not be needing replaced, thankfully. But if it does, this is when you would do it. Then there's 2 more washers or seals. Now you can flip it over, and there's 3 screws, one here, here, and here. I believe that they're all still T20s. I'm going to take all 3 of them out. You do not need to take this one out yet, because that will release your tech drive pedal. Now, while holding the tech drive in, you can flip it over, make sure it's in drive. Actually, first, before you do that, you're gonna pop your switch off. There's 2 plastic tabs that you do not want to break because it won't switch on properly. You're gonna take that off first. Then you're gonna take those screws out and put it into drive, and the whole thing should come out completely. And then there's your drive belt. Now you can take this third screw out, or 4th, which will have a small washer on it. And you can wiggle this out of place. Lots of hair and grime. And I'll show you how to grease that. Then this little piece comes apart into 2. And if it's clicking, one of the reasons can be that this little bit right here can pull up off of there slowly. And mine's kind of doing that. It kind of made a clicking noise. So I'm going to want to push that back down on there. Now, to release the motor, there's a screw down here and a screw here, which are T25s, or not T25s, T20s, which are quite loose, actually. Those will come out. Then there's 2 more screws about here and here that you're going to take out. Now, there's 2 more screws here and here that you're going to take out. Then this whole top piece will kind of come loose. You're going to unplug this top wire, and there is a wire down in there that you do not want to unplug because there's this and this little yellow casing. You can kind of wiggle out of there to unplug. Then this will come loose, and there's a screw right here holding this little fan tubing on. That's actually, for some reason, a Phillips on the G6. Then your fan and your fan tube can come out, and your whole motor. Now that's the base. You can stop here and call this good. That's your lever for your switch. You can stop here and say that this is good, but I like to take this front plate off personally, which there's, if you're going to, there's 2 screws up here and 2 screws down here that you're going to want to remove. If you want to open your motor up, you don't have to. I do, just to get it a good clean. And these are also going to be Phillips, at least on the G6. I think they actually are on the Centria series too. Not sure about the Avulier. Haven't worked on one of those. don't strip. My screw is stripping, which is not good. Yeah. It has stripped, which ain't good. It's not wanting to come out. Yeah, so it does not look like I'm going to be taking my fan case off or this part because my screw has stripped. So if you take these 4 screws out, you can get the motor pulley and this front plate off. I cannot because my screws decided to strip. And if you are, there's a little lock ring right here to pull the motor shaft thing out if you're going to do that. Now you want to wash everything and make sure it's all dry before you start putting it back together. Almost forgot. After you're finished taking this off, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws to take off. If you're going to re-grease the handle yoke, which most of them by now need re-greased. And sometimes the bearings will fall out on these because they're flat bearings, I think they're called. Sometimes these can be a bit stiff. I wouldn't recommend using a drill on these, but they come apart into 3 separate pieces, which you're going to want to grease if you take it apart, which I recommend doing. Do not wash these though, because they will rust more. And this you also don't want to wash because it has the electrical running through it. Same with your tech drive, do not wash this. But I think about everything else you can, so